we have analyzed all our viewers and readers and fed that information to ChatGPT, and we have a personality profile for you, right? So you, our viewer, you want people to admire you. You are critical of yourself. You have unused capacity that you haven't taken advantage of. You're self-controlled on the outside, but insecure on the inside. You have strong opinions, but you don't always express them. You're extroverted with some people and introverted with others. And some of your ambitions are quite unrealistic. Okay. What do you think? How well does this match you? From a number from 0 to 5. 0 means this was a very bad match, and 5 means this was a great match, right?
I would give it a 4.2.
Yes. So the thing is, you are not going to find this very convincing because you've already seen the title of the episode and you know what this is about, right? These statements that I made, these are called Barnum Statements or Forer Statements.
Yeah.
And they have been carefully designed so that anybody listening to them feels that it is about them.
Yeah,
okay?
and it applies perfectly to them.
Yeah, except that that only works when they have some reason to believe that this is really true information, right? It has to come from an authoritative source. You didn't have reason to believe, so you wouldn't be convinced, but trust me, right?
If you were to make these statements in front of someone else, or if you were to just play this audio for someone else, then they would be nodding their heads in agreement. 100% guaranteed.
You have to give them a reason to believe that, right?
Yeah.
So what we did was, in the office here, we told everybody that we accessed all their chats on Slack for the last 3 weeks, fed it to ChatGPT 4, and used a prompt from a world famous psychologist to
analyze their
evaluate
personality profiles.
And then we asked them whether ChatGPT had analyzed their profile well, right? So take a look at some of the reactions.
Yeah, fun reactions they were. I enjoyed that very much.
Okay. Akshay has a need for other people to like and admire him, and yet he tends to be very critical of himself. While he has some personality weaknesses, he is generally able to compensate for them. He has considerable unused capacity, and he has not turned it to his advantage. Self-controlled on the outside, but tends to be worrisome and insecure on the inside. At times, she has serious doubts as to whether she has made the right decision or done the right thing.
Oh my God.
He prefers a certain amount of change and variety and becomes dissatisfied when hemmed in by restrictions and limitations. He also prides himself as an independent thinker. He does not accept other people's statements unless they are given with satisfactory proof. But he has found it unwise to be too frank in letting people know his real opinions.
Right.
At times she is extroverted and affable and sociable, but at other times she is introverted, wary and reserved. Okay, and some of her aspirations tend to be quite unrealistic. So this is what ChatGPT came up with. Can you give me a number from 0 to 5? 0 means this was a very poor match, and 5 means this was a good match, right? What do you think this thing is?
Almost 4.5.
I think 3.
5. Nearly about 4.5.
Very good match.
I would mostly give 3.5 or 4 because almost, I think that was
Which one of the two is more likely for you, 3.5 or 4?
somewhere in between. I get mostly 4. I will give mostly 4.
All right.
Yeah.
Did my colleagues tell you all
We
this?
are reading the same paragraph to everybody, and everyone is giving it a 4.5 rating. These are called Barnum Statements. They have been carefully designed so that everybody thinks it applies to them.
Oh.
Okay. So you see what happened, right? All the ratings, the lowest was a 3. There were mostly around 4 and 4.5. The average was 4.1. So this experiment was first done in 1948 by Dr. Forer, a psychologist, and the average rating that his subjects gave for exactly these, I mean, this is the paragraph I just picked, the paragraph he has written in 1948. The average rating at that time was 4.2. This experiment has been repeated hundreds of times after that, and roughly it is always 4.2. And in the office here also, it was roughly the same. This is called the Forer effect.
Wait, we were doing the Barnum effect.
Yeah. So Dr. Forer is the one who studied this first. Okay. But later on, somebody else came up with a much better name.
Okay.
P.T. Barnum.
Oh,
the
achha.
one who had the Ringling Brothers circus, right?
Yes.
I mean, so he made a fortune conning people into believing ridiculous things. Do you know what his most famous statement is?
No.
There is a sucker born every minute.
Ah!
Right? People, gullible people are born every minute. You just have to find a way to take their money from them. Right?
Yes.
That's why these statements that I read to you at the beginning of the episode, these are called Barnum Statements, and they have been carefully constructed in such a way that everybody thinks it is about them.
Yeah.
Most of those statements, some of them will say both sides. You are extroverted at sometimes, you are introverted at sometimes, right? Like, who is not?
Who is not?
And many of the statements will say some negative thing, but then
The exact
padded with
opposite and padded with positivity.
positive things. So you are like, yeah, that is correct because, I have strong opinions, but I don't tell them all the time. Of course, everybody
does that. Like,
But this, when you are not paying attention, right? They sound specific enough that people think, oh my God, how did they describe me so perfectly?
yeah.
Right?
Like Shrutika said, did you talk to my colleagues in the office? That was fun.
Right? So this is the Barnum effect. Right?
Yep. So I'm pretty sure that this effect doesn't work across all the time and across all kinds of people, but there have to be certain conditions for this effect to be applicable.
Yes. So it works for most people under certain conditions, right?
Okay.
It works best when the listener believes that the statements were specific to them. If you saw the montage earlier, this episode is about whether ChatGPT can read personalities properly, right? So what we did was 3 weeks ago, we got access to the company Slack. Okay? We didn't look at any of the messages, but we wrote a program which downloads your messages, sends them to ChatGPT. Okay. And there is a prompt that has been created by Dr. Forer, a famous psychologist, and using that prompt and then your messages from a very small number of messages, ChatGPT is supposed to be able to give a good personality description of you, right?
Okay.
So we have that description here, and I'm going to read that to you and in the end ask you how well it matches. We made a big deal about, let me find your profile where it is, and we are not sure whether we have enough data for you.
And we
give
also
them an
prime
impression.
we also prime people saying that ChatGPT read your Slack, so
Yeah.
your messages were being read.
Right.
Yeah.
So people have to believe that these are specific to them.
Okay.
People have to believe that it is coming from some authoritative source or some algorithm.
So Dr. Forer's prompt in the montage that we did.
No. Oh yeah, in the montage that we did, we said, famous psychologist Dr. Forer's prompt, and ChatGPT, of course, everybody is very impressed with, right?
Yeah.
So there is reason to believe this is true.
Yeah.
Otherwise, other people will believe it for things like, it is in the stars, God has given this ability to be, and so on, right? So, there are lots of people who have
I agree.
abilities to be able to tell your future or tell your past and things like that, right? The statements, you can't use random statements here. They have to be carefully constructed, right? They have to appeal to people's desire for self-esteem, people's desire to be unique. Everybody believes they are unique, right?
Everybody is unique, man. Everybody is unique.
Correct. They have to be positive statements, right? You have to sort of appeal to their ego, but you can't make it too obvious. That is why you say negative things, but then you offset it by a positive ending to that statement. Okay?
Like you're disciplined and self-controlled on the outside, but reserved on the inside.
No. Self-controlled on the outside and very worried and concerned on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So,
that was actually ulta. We first said the positive, then the negative, but offsetting is the point of the matter.
Offsetting, and ultimately it still shows that you, as far as the world is concerned, you are self-controlled, right? That's good enough. So, andar ki story and we are telling you that, we are not going to tell anybody else about it, right? These are statements you want to believe in coming from a perceived authority.
Ah.
That's when it works.
Yeah, so ChatGPT and the world famous psychologist Dr. Forer were the perceived authority
Yes.
in this particular montage, in this particular
because,
experiment.
In this office, people are like more science and rationality oriented, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the subjects, I could have used things like my grandfather was an astrologist and I learned a few tricks from him or something like that. Or, I
Yeah.
read your palm and I say exactly these statements and I tell you it's written in your lines.
Have you ever wondered why this happens? Like
It's- of
people
course.
claim to be rational and then they go and believe things like this.
Srikanth, we have done episodes on this.
Sorry,
System
yes.
1, right? System 2, your rational brain
Yeah.
thinks that everything has to have proof, and that was one of our statement, right? You don't believe things unless there is satisfactory proof.
Yeah.
But in reality, system 2 is not in control. System 1 is in control. System 1 is emotional and instinctive. System 1 wants these statements to be true.
Yes,
Right?
it does.
So it convinces you that they are true. Okay.
Yeah, if you don't know why we are saying that, go check out the episode on System 1 versus System 2. Essentially, the crux of it is System 1, once System 1 believes a statement to be true, System 2 will rationalize it, will retcon it and make up reasons on why it is true.
Correct. So in fact, there is a lovely phrase I heard recently which captures this feeling, right? Which says, believing is seeing. If you already believe something is going to be true, that's all you see in the evidence.
Oh, look, UFOs in that photograph.
Yeah. No, even otherwise, right?
Or ghosts in that photograph.
I mean, in the beginning of the episode, I only read you a short version.
Correct.
Right? The real version is longer, which you might have seen in the montage. We make a lot of statements, right? Probably 12, 13 of them. If 4 of them hit, 4 of them match you, you're going to say, oh my God, such a perfect description of me. You will completely forget that there are 8 others which didn't match.
Yeah.
If you are in the correct frame of mind, if you are in the believing is seeing frame of mind, what you are going to do is you are going to remember the good ones and you're going to completely forget that there were a bunch that didn't match.
There are a
This
bunch
happens
that
all the
didn't
time.
match.
Actually, our memory is even worse than that. Okay, so there is one famous example which happened on TV, right, where a person who's supposed to be reading your past and knowing things about you magically, right? He went and he was talking to the subject and he said, something about, hunting, about your dad and going hunting with him. And the subject said, my dad never liked going hunting because it reminded him of Bambi. Okay.
Okay.
This is what happened in the interview. Later on, when a scientist interviewed that subject and asked them how impressive was it, and the subject said it was so impressive. How did that guy know that my dad doesn't like hunting because of Bambi? The point is the subject had said this himself.
Yeah.
And then later on, because of the whole believing is seeing, later on this person remembers it as, oh my God, that person said Bambi. Okay, this
Retconning.
You will not believe it, but it happens more often than you think.
Yeah.
Right? Your memory is terrible. Okay.
That is definitely true, and not just mine. Everybody's memory is terrible, which is why there has been a lot of questioning about whether eyewitness accounts are to be believed or not. Another time, another episode on that. All right, so we've established that this happens a lot of times with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And definitely there are cases where people take undue advantage of
This,
this and Barnum effect and Barnum statements.
Yeah.
I think one of the most prominent examples I can think of is, and I know I'm going to get flack for this, but the moment you open the newspaper to page whatever and see that little word
Astrology.
called horoscopes, your daily horoscope,
Yes.
you should actually check them again and cross-reference them with Barnum statements and
Yes,
then tell me what
absolutely.
you think.
All of astrology is just Barnum statements, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all of the generic mass astrology that happens in newspapers.
Yeah.
Right? In-person astrology uses a different, an additional technique called cold reading. We'll talk about later. But before that, I want to give an even more mind-blowing example of how this works. Okay, there is, just like astrology and palmistry and all that, there is a pseudoscience called biorhythms. Okay, what these guys say.
Hold on, what are biorhythms?
Biorhythms are, these guys say that for every person, you have a intellectual cycle,
Okay.
an emotional cycle, and a physical cycle. Okay. Which means that on different days, your emotional cycle might be at the top or it might be at the bottom. Similarly for intellectual and similarly for physical, right?
Okay.
And these cycles, I mean, the physical cycle is a 23-day cycle, emotional cycle is a 28-day cycle because of periods, by the way. As a result of that, these cycles almost never match and they're all different for different people, right? So which means that somebody who's doing biorhythms for you in the morning will tell you that today you are at the top of your physical cycle, but at the bottom of the emotional cycle, and sort of middle
on
for
the intellectual.
Which means that you should do physical things today. Okay, try to stay away from doing. You can do a little bit of intellectual work, not too much, and definitely stay away from emotional stuff today. You get involved there, you're going to have a bad time. Okay.
This sounds like a very poor excuse coming from a student to a teacher for not doing their homework.
Yeah. Or you might have a day when you are at the top of your intellectual cycle and your emotional cycle, but at the bottom of physical, right?
Okay,
then
one
you
second,
think
one second. This
do
is
computer work today and do on your computer, do something with your like close friends where you can get emotional.
I can't even believe people actually believe this because
Lots of people believe this.
It is easily trackable. Like all you have to do.
Okay, so that is why my example is mind-blowing. Okay. So James Randi is a very famous rationalist, right?
Yes.
He tries to debunk these things. On his radio show, what he did was he called one subject, a guest on his show, and he gave her biorhythm. Okay. And he told her, for the next 2 months, you look at what is happening with your biorhythms, and they are supposed to predict how your day is going to go. And you write down in a journal for every day how well it matches.
Correct. Okay.
2 months later, she came on the show and he asked her how well it matched. And she said it was a 90% match.
Okay.
And then James Randi looked up his notes and he said, oh my God, I am sorry. I gave you my biorhythm by mistake, right? I should have given you your biorhythm. So he took back his biorhythm. He gave her hers, sent her off for 2 months. 2 months later when she came back, would you like to guess how well the new one matched?
Now that she had her own biorhythm, I'm guessing it matched perfectly.
Even better than the previous one.
Okay.
Right? Even better than the previous one, where the previous one was 90% match.
Correct.
And then James Randi told her, oh sorry, I gave you my secretary's biorhythms. Both of those were not her biorhythms, but believing is seeing. She would look at what the biorhythm is predicting for her, and then that would happen to her in the day. Or at least the things that happened to her, she would notice the ones that matched and not notice the ones that didn't match.
Okay. Believing is seeing. People believe once they believe it, then they rationalize it,
right? So for example, people who are trying to debunk this biorhythm stuff, right? The biorhythms are supposed to start at the moment you are born. At that time, all 3 biorhythms are at 0 and all 3 start going up. And then over the next few days, they diverge because their periods are different.
Correct.
Right? And then for the rest of your life, they're all, going differently.
Correct. And yeah.
So Reggie Jackson is a baseball Hall of Famer, right?
Okay.
On 18th October 1977, all 3 of his cycles were at the low end.
So he was physically lowest, intellectually lowest, and emotionally lowest.
Right?
Which means he should have had a really bad day.
The worst day of his life.
Yeah.
Right? The worst day of his life. I mean, if this biorhythm work stuff really works. On that day, he hit 3 home runs on 3 consecutive pitches to win the game of the World Series, right? That's like Dhoni hitting 3 sixes in a row on the last 3 balls to win a World Cup. Okay.
Yeah, he did
The
hit one,
biorhythm
but
stuff was exactly opposite. Mark Spitz, you know who Mark Spitz is?
the Australian swimmer, I think.
Yes, so he won 7 gold medals on 5th September 1972.
Okay.
Okay, if you look at his biorhythm chart for that day, right, what you will see is that physically he is at the top, emotionally he is at the top, intellectually he is at the bottom. Now, how will a biorhythm person explain this? Say, oh, of course, right? Physically, you have to be at the top for winning the medals. Emotionally, also, the head has to be in the game. Well, what about the fact that intellectually he was at the absolute bottom? Well, so his brain wasn't distracting him. You know where all this works?
Where?
Astrology,
Of course.
palmistry.
Again, I'm guessing tarot also comes into that,
Yes.
numerology comes into
But
that,
the
graphology.
important one, graphology. Yes, this is like this handwriting analysis. After 12th standard, I can guarantee you so many students are getting their handwritings analyzed for 3,000 rupees per pop and then getting some bullshit about
Students
what
are paying 3,000 rupees for handwriting analysis.
Yes.
I'm starting a handwriting analysis business. I will analyze your handwriting, send them to me. I will charge only 300 rupees. Just send them to me. 300 rupees, one signature.
Shrikant, I'm telling you, do not do this. You will actually get people sending you rupees, right? That
Hold on
means-
1 second. And I'm sorry to bring this up,
Yeah.
but does homeopathy and Ayurveda
So
also...
actually no. Okay. By the way, I am completely against homeopathy. So it makes me very sad to defend homeopathy here today. Okay.
Okay.
Homeopathy is not Barnum Statements. Okay. The reason homeopathy seems to work, the reason why homeopathy has so many fans are different, right?
Okay.
2 very important factors.
Huh.
One is that there is something called the placebo effect.
Okay.
Right? I think Tolstoy has said this, that if you have a medical problem
Huh.
and then some treatment is given to you with the intention of treating that problem,
Huh.
and if the problem goes away, no power on earth can convince you that it wasn't because of the treatment.
Listen, I mean,
Okay.
even system 2 will accept this. Cause effect.
Correct.
The fact that it's a correlation doesn't apply.
Right. The reason homeopathy works is that there is something called the placebo effect. Right?
Okay.
If you are given a medication and you truly believe that this medication is going to help you, our brain and our biology works in mysterious ways, and there is a 20-30% chance that you will actually get better. This has
Okay.
been proved again and again and again by modern science using controlled trials, right?
Yeah, we'll need to do a more detailed episode on placebo effect one of these days. All right. But you said something about cold reading
So
earlier.
let's talk talking about just you, right?
Yeah.
When you were a teenager,
Okay.
right? Did you have some sort of a difficult time? Things were pretty bad. Something to do with, I mean, connected to your health.
Are
and
you trying
education.
Barnum statements on me?
I'm-
Please don't do that, because I have now awakened and I know when someone is trying
So
Barnum.
I was
Yes, I did.
trying-
I was a very troubled teen. I ran away from home.
Right. But also it was related to education.
Not really. No.
Why did you run away?
Long story, I'll tell it some other day, and also private, so I'm not telling you or them.
So I was coming to the weaponized Barnum effect, right?
Okay.
Barnum effect works by just these generic statements which apply to everybody. But if you're sitting with someone
Huh.
and you're doing one-on-one, then you use techniques called code reading, right?
Acha.
Where-
So you were trying cold reading on
yes.
me.
I was trying a technique called shotgunning.
Okay.
Just say something that just applies to many situations. Pretty much all of you have had some troubled time during your teens.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a
I
phase
mean-
called teenage rebellion.
Yeah, right.
And the very phrase means
Yeah.
that
But
it happens.
If Shrikant is already, he's a very skeptical person and he was in a skeptical mood.
Yeah.
But if he was in the right frame of mind, he would have jumped at the chance of talking about how he ran away from home and why he ran away from home. And it was probably something to do with education, or I could have said, well, yeah, discipline, right?
Yes.
Shotgun is discipline, education,
family.
difficult time during teenage years, something to do with medical or education,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Applies to 90% of the people.
Correct.
They will say yes, and then you get them to give the details, and then you feed the details back to them. Like that Bambi,
Story. Yeah, I was
Right?
just thinking of that.
they will remember it at, oh my god, he knew I ran away from home. Right?
Yeah.
These techniques are used by cold readers to be able to give like a perfect thing.
He will make a really good astrologer, I'm telling you. Like
so-
he can write astrology horoscopes for
Yeah.
the best of the best newspapers and whatnot. Yeah, I can see how a lot of these astrologers, graphologists, numerologists end up making a ton of money.
I mean, all of Kundali is also
300
this, okay?
rupees, graphology, signature analysis.
Kundali, all of Kundali is also this, okay?
Okay.
And Enneagram and aura reading and a lot
I
of
don't even know what they are.
a lot of personality tests, right?
Okay.
Because, well, we just did personality test of everybody in this
did.
office, and we
We
are
did.
like 4.2. maybe.
But I don't believe in any of those. I am immune to the Barnum effect. I am
Yes, right.
awakened.
Correct. So, do you listen to like your app which gives you customized for you output, right? The algorithm. This is for you. We have customized.
Or like TikTok used to do, and I think Twitter has now come
Yeah,
up with a for you tab.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they are customizing the algorithm based on what I
A
like, what I
little bit.
retweet.
One is a little bit, not how much, right?
Huh.
You go to a store,
Huh.
right? And there is like a shampoo for your hair, right? There is very little difference between those three shampoos.
But my hair is a little brittle, yeah, and a little oily.
Actually, I'm not able to find the news item, but I remember there being a controversy that Johnson's baby oil was just regular oil. But because they sell it as baby oil, like everybody is buying it for babies, right?
We'll actually
The
look this up and
marketing
yeah.
loves using Barnum statements to convince you that the product is tailored for you specifically. So you should pay more for this particular product, not that general one that is being sold to everyone.
Confession time, mea culpa. I have done that on couple of occasions when I was responsible for some of the marketing
Yes.
in some cases. So
You know, another category of people who are instinctively brilliant at this,
huh?
politicians, right?
Of course.
They have to
How?
appeal to as broad a base of voters as possible, but they have to make the voter believe that I am the one who's fighting for your cause as opposed to all these other losers.
Yeah, every politician thinks the other politician is a loser, and also the public that is listening to them.
Actually, not necessary, okay? One of the things, I mean, people who have studied Barnum effects and cold reading and all of this, right? What they find is that after a while, the practitioner, I mean, they see so much success, and sometimes it works better than they expected, right? That after a while, they start believing that this works. Okay?
Oh,
so
man.
I'm not saying that a lot of them are not con men. They are themselves. They themselves believe that this is true. I mean, I have friends who are homeopaths, right? It works.
Placebo effect and being seen. That is why. That is why. Okay, so the for you algorithms that most of these sites come up with.
Well, I mean, some of the modern sites like Netflix and Spotify and all that, they're actually putting in a lot of effort and they have decent AI. So it might be for you, but also there's a lot of time it doesn't match.
Slightly off topic, but Netflix, if you have different profiles on Netflix, then go and look into each profile for the same series or the movie. The image that accompanies it will be different for each person because that image is chosen on the basis of who the profile belongs to and what the profile has watched before.
So some of these modern companies do it, but it's, a lot of them don't. They just claim that it is for you. Right? Forget marketing, right? Sales. I mean, a good salesperson, you would have noticed, you go there and you're talking about, I want a shirt like this, and then you start looking and this is not nice and that is better, right? After a while, the salesperson start telling you that this is better, that's not nice. They just pay attention to what you seem to be liking, and then after a while they say, no, only wo jayega, right? That will be good for you. So good salespeople also do that.
This is why I have stopped going to shops entirely. Most of my shopping is now online, e-commerce only. But I miss.
Oh, if you think e-commerce
I know.
is not
I knew he was going there. I knew he was going there. This is why I turn off my browsing history on Amazon. This is why I turn off recommendations everywhere. This is why I don't
So
let
then-
anything be personalized.
then you are getting the pure Barnum effect.
I know exactly. Then I can at least be 100% sure that this is Barnum effect, and I have to make my own decisions.
Yes.
Awakened, woke. No, not okay. Woke.
I mean, that's the point of this episode.
Yeah.
Be a little awakened at how these things work, right?
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that you would have given a rating of 4 or 4.5 to that statement if you had been in the correct frame of mind, and if we hadn't put how astrology tricks you in the title itself. Okay?
You can still try it out for yourself. Just play out that little soundbite to people around you and ask them what they would rate it on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 being doesn't match at all and 5 being matches really well. And
4.2, the answer to
4.2.
everything.
yes, which is also 42 divided by 10. The
Yes.
answer to the question of life, universe and everything. But for now, these answers will stop here. Shrikant, Naveen,
Thank you.
futureiq.
Thank you for watching till the end. If you liked this episode, check out these others. You might like them also. And please share with your friends. I'm sure they will also like these. Thank you.